How's it going, guys? We are live at Zach Ginn here. I am with my friend Matt Beard. Matt is literally the guy to talk to when it comes to virtual drawing for dollars. So this might be a shock to you. You might not know this watching this, but did you know you can drive for dollars in your underwear at home? It is
Dude, it's crazy.
100% true. So today I know that I think statistically I saw somewhere some wholesaler said this. I could be misquoting this, but 60% of like everyone's first deal comes from either drawing for dollars or someone referring them a drawing for dollars lead. So I think Deal Machine said that, but mostly everyone gets their first deal from drawing for dollars. It's one of the best lists. It's absolutely one of the most killer lists out there. And honestly, it's the one list you can't buy. So drawing for dollars is amazing, but what if you live in a market that's not good for drawing for dollars? Or what if you live out of the country or you want to do virtual wholesaling? This comes into virtual drawing for dollars. And I'm going to let Matt talk about it because Matt knows it way better than me. But how's it going, Matt? And tell me.
Yo, Zach, man, I appreciate you having me on. This is super exciting, especially virtual driving for dollars. I think one of the main things with driving for dollars is the fact that you can keep your costs down. So as folks that are trying to get started, like you're saying, if it's 60%, 70, whatever that number is, it makes complete sense because with driving for dollars, like you're not spending a bunch of money on data, right? You don't have to go get like a dialer for for cold calling, whatever. You can keep your data set really, really niched, and you can keep your costs down. Really, it's just a matter of your time going out and building these lists. Because I think in the beginning, a lot of folks are like, "Hey, I got more time." I know, and me personally, when I first started, I got my first deal from door knocking, and it was a pre-foreclosure. So while I was knocking pre-foreclosures, I was also driving for dollars. Which, if there are audience who don't know what that means, is we're just looking for ugly properties, right? Properties that have many issues, not just one but many, right? So we're looking for broken windows, paint, that may be chipping, landscaping, roof, right? The roof may be, it looks like it's dated, or some shingles are missing, whatever. You're looking for multiple things. So as I was knocking on doors, I was also building that driving for dollar list, and it helped me keep my costs down. I had more time than I had money. So that was just something that I was really focusing on in the beginning. And the cool thing about today's world is you can be way more efficient. Like back in the day, I was knocking on the pre-foreclosures I had on the spreadsheet, and I had like a notebook, right? And I was going around and I was looking for the ugly properties, and I would like write down the address, and I would just end up at the end of the day, I'd have a big old notebook full of addresses. And then I would have to go plug them in, get them skip trace, and then call them one by one. Super duper inefficient. But the cool thing about, and one of the main things we're going to talk about today, is that you can do this from home. You don't have to do this in your car, especially if you're in a market that maybe you live out in the middle of nowhere. Before I moved to Arizona, I lived in South Carolina, and no one's buying properties where I lived in South Carolina, just in the middle of, like, seriously, it was like 45 minutes to a Walmart. So no one's buying properties out there. So the cool thing about using software like Batch Driven that we're going to talk about today, or whatever you decide to use, heck, you can even use Google Maps. The main thing about doing this is you can do it from anywhere. Like you can use the Google Street View to look for these ugly properties.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah.
So I want to make this clear. I mean, I love to promote anyone's software that they got. Again,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, you can do this for absolutely for free. So if you broke as a joke, haven't gotten your first deal, literally you can go on Google Maps and do exactly what we're going to show. Again, Matt is a 7-figure wholesaler. We do a lot of deals. So we like to pay for it. And obviously I can't be behind my computer driving for dollars virtually for hours a day. I would need a team members to do it for me, and I can't do that all with Google Maps. So that's kind of why we like Batch Driven. Again, it's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. Again, it used to be Go Knock. I had some videos on that, but Batch Driven just, I mean, it's the best way to do it. It's pretty cheap. So
Yep.
tell me a little about the difference between virtual drawing for dollars and actual drawing for dollars.
Yeah, so the process is still very, very much the same, right? You're going around, like if you're in your car, right? It takes a good amount of your time. You're going to spend most of your time going through these neighborhoods, and like I was doing, writing these properties down on a notepad. The difference is you're able to do this from your computer, and by leveraging software like Batch Driven, I'm going to share my screen here in a second. I'm going to show you guys how you can do this from the comfort of your home, your couch, anywhere. We're actually been doing the 990 challenge. Is something that pays more to be put together. And what part of the challenge is to add 30 properties to your driving for dollar list every single day. If I had to go drive around and do that every single day, like I would probably not have the time to do it. But being able to leverage software where you can do it from anywhere has been really, really helpful. And another little thing, guys, is like Zach was saying, we do plenty of deals. It's not me doing the driving for dollars every single day. I have a team of 24 virtual assistants, and they do everything in my business. My entire business is virtual. So I have trained someone to do exactly what I'm going to show you guys here today using batch driven.
I'm telling you right now, it's because trust me, I remember I was 17. I got all my kids in high school. I'm like, hey, can you go drive for me for like an hour? I'll give you 10% of the deal. It's like, you got to get your friends. You got to make them get in their car. They want gas money. It's like, oh, but a VA, they're an employee. They're not your friend. They're not grandma trying to drive for you. It's a lot more transactional. And honestly, it's a lot better.
Yes, 100%. They're dedicated to it. If you have your friends or your family or even you, like me personally, I would be super inconsistent with it. I'd go out and I'd add 50 properties one day, and the next day something would come up and I wouldn't add any, right? Doesn't matter. Same thing with your friends. If they're not getting or just most folks, when you're not getting the pay right away, like if I'm not getting paid per property, or if I'm not getting paid per hour, like most folks have that employee mindset. It's like, how much am I going to get paid per hour,
Oh
right?
yeah.
If you're in real estate investing, you're watching this podcast, you're probably one of the crazy ones like us. And we know that we get to eat what we kill, right? Everything that we do is based on what we produce. So with that, we get paid handsomely, but you got to do something. You got to take action. So is it okay if I go ahead and share my screen?
Yeah, I wanted to share one really quick thing
Yeah, let's
before we
do it.
share the screen. I actually I don't think I talked to Matt about this. I just wanted to share this out for you guys. So the number one thing I get from people, they're going to say this, they're going to say Matt, or they're going to say Zach. That's cool and all, but Google Maps isn't updated at all where I'm at. I want to virtually wholesale. I just wanted to share this with everybody really quick. Let me see if I can find it. If you guys are virtually wholesaling, this is probably the best thing I can like share with you guys. This is literally Google just released this. I just found this out. This is where they're driving for the next 4 months. They're going to release brand new information everywhere in the United States. So if you're in Arizona, of course, Maricopa is good. Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, just go to Street View /explore. And this is perfect for finding the perfect virtual driving markets. So these are going to be fresh pictures. So it's literally you physically being there or your VA being there. So wanted to share that with you guys real quick. Just DM me or something. I'll send you the link or something. But just for everyone that wants to know what market to do, I wanted to share that. So I'll let Matt take it away.
100%. And I think that's really cool, man, because I think one of the biggest challenges by doing this virtually, a lot of folks like worry, like if I'm in the wrong market, these pictures are really, really old, right? But I'm going to share with you guys some tips on doing that. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. I'm actually here in Phoenix, so we're going to stay in the Phoenix market. So let's do this. Okay. So Zach, can you see this?
Yeah.
Awesome. So as you guys can see, we're in the batch driven software. I'm actually just going to see if I can just go back to the dashboard here. Let's see. So it reloads. So you guys can see what it actually looks like before we actually like pop it on the map. So it looks like this. We have a team out here in Phoenix, guys. So if you're wondering like what these little like bubbles are on the map with the properties, we have a team that door knocks, right? We have a team that goes out and knocks on pre-foreclosures, and they also add properties to our list within the software for driving for dollars. So if you see that, it's just some properties we've already added. So the cool thing about batch driven is the map is interactive, and if you get the base level subscription, you should still be able to go here on the maps. Here they are. It just populated all the data. So what we'll do is one of the best areas I know out here is in this side of Mesa. It's like Northwest Mesa. The price point's good. They're single family homes, a lot of starter homes. If you guys are going into a market, a big tip, number one, I would say is make sure you pick the right zip codes. So it doesn't matter if you're in Phoenix. I had a lot of folks reach out to me and say, hey, Matt, well, you're telling me to drive for dollars in Phoenix, but where in the world do I drive for dollars? There's a little hack that we use using list source, right? And on list source, we can actually pull the zip codes where they're actually like most of the transactions are happening. And we will sort out maybe the top 3 or 4 to get started and just drive for dollars in those zip codes. If you want more information about that or learning how to like pull that on list source, I'm sure Zach probably has some content on it, or you can just put it in YouTube. I'm sure there's plenty of videos on it. But for the intent and purpose of this, we're just going to hop in some of these areas that I know are pretty good. So what we'll do is within batch driven, I take this little guy in the top right hand corner and I drop him on the map, right? So I'm going to drop him right here. So what we're doing, guys, is while we're on the map view, like you can see why I kind of chose this area, right? We got a lot of rundown stuff. This is a big old vacant lot. I don't really mess with the duplexes and the multifamily stuff, so I'll probably head across the street. Again, what we're looking for is things with multiple issues, right? Like I alluded to in the beginning, we're looking for properties that don't just have, you know, maybe a little bit, the landscaping looks like it needs some work. We're looking for things that, you know, maybe let's just say this property was really bad. It had broken windows, the landscaping was bad, the roof's bad. That would be the properties you want to add to your list, because the idea behind driving for dollars, and this is what we train our VAs to do as well, is to keep that list very, very niche, right? It's not to say that these properties aren't on other lists, which they probably are. Like somewhere, this property is probably on a high equity absentee list somewhere, right? A list of, 50 to 100,000 records. What you're doing with driving for dollars is you're like shortening that curve of like having to go through all that data, and you're just picking out the really good ones. So if you're adding just about anything to your list, it defeats the purpose. It needs to have, multiple issues. Now, guys, what Zach was talking about with the Google Images, if you see down here, right? Because obviously Batch Driven pulls their data from Google Street View. So if you see down here in the bottom right hand corner, it says the image date is February 2019. Now, in some markets, I've seen it in 2015, 2012, 2011, some really old photos. But what I do is it doesn't matter if you're using this software or just using Google Maps. What I do is I will look at the sale date of that said property. So let's just use this one for an example, even though it's not one we would add to the list. The cool thing about Batch Driven is you can get all the information on the property right there. So if you're using Google Maps, like this would be a big challenge. You would have to like take that address, put it into a skip tracing service, get the information on the sale, or maybe you would have to go to Zillow to see what the last time it sold. It would take multiple steps, but certainly can be done. The purpose of having a software like this is it makes it much, much, much easier. So right here on the map, like I can see this was taken in 2019. You can see the address is 14 East Ivy Street, Mesa, Arizona 85201. Gives me the owner's name, right? The estimated equity on the property and the last time it was sold. So here's a very, very big tip. If this property was really bad, right? And this image was from like 2012, I will still look at that property and I'll see the last time that it sold. So if it looked like crap in 2012 and it was sold in 2007, meaning that it still has the same owner, there's a high likelihood that it still looks like crap, right? The person still owns it, and it doesn't matter if the image is updated or not. I will still add that property to my folder based on the fact that this has been the same owner. If he owned it for 5 years and it looked like that, there's still a good chance another 8 years later, it probably has even more issues. So I would then add that property to my folder. As you guys can see, we have plenty of team members that do this. I would actually add it to my own personal folder. Let's just use, I'm gonna show you guys how to do this. If I wanted to just have one for this live, right, I can just have, Zach's live. I can create that folder. And now when I add this property, it's going to go in here, right? I hit the little plus button and bam. Well, it looks like I already have it registered somewhere. But this property would be added into this folder, right? And then it's just as simple as if I want to give them a call, if I want to text them, It doesn't matter if you're out in front of the house or if you're doing this from your home, like we're doing here today. I can skip trace the property. It would give me the phone numbers so I can call them and text them, right? And if I want to double check the information I have on Zillow, I can just click on the Zillow link. It'll pull it right up, right? We actually had an instance where we were out physically doing this. I was with Pace, and we ran across a property where the homeowner was outside and the property looked really bad. And we're like, well, oh my gosh, I don't know. Like, what do you think this thing could be worth? It's a 3-2. All we did was click the Zillow button, get a rough idea what his estimate was. And we already know the area pretty well. So we're like, okay, well, his estimate says it's like 240. We know this is a 3-2 in Mesa, right? We knew that right away. It'd probably be worth like 275 fixed up. So it made like a very, very easy conversation. We knew what we were walking into just from like right then and there, having Zillow at our fingertips while walking up and talking to the seller. So I would say definitely utilize this within the app if you guys do decide to use batch driven. That's just a good way to get started. So going back to the street view, a couple more things, right? So you're getting started. You definitely want to drive for dollars in the hottest zip codes. You then want to, like, if you're brand new, let's just say I didn't know Phoenix or I didn't know the area I'm going into, the satellite view is actually updated more than the street view, right? So if I go back out here and I'm going down into this neighborhood, right? If I clicked on, which one of these gives me the satellite view? The satellite view is updated more often. Now, it's obviously more challenging when I do it this way because I don't get to actually see what the front of the house looks like. But if you're looking for more updated photos, you can see like this one was taken in 2020. I can look for green pools. I can look for like a lot of trash in the backyard, or I can look for, messed up roofs or like whatever it is. I can do this all right here using the satellite view. And it will allow you to get through quite a few more properties at a time than, if you're actually on the street. Like this one right here. This would be a good one, right? You see the trash on the side. This photo is updated from the satellite view. I would probably say, okay, this one could be a decent property. Sold in 2011. So we know Loretta still owns this property. Let's add this one to our folder. Right? Okay, there's the front of it. I would hit the little plus button. Property added successfully. And I already had the phone numbers here now. 480-245. I could give her a call just by clicking on that button. Or if I just whip out my cell phone, obviously just call her and text her. So it's a great way to be efficient, guys. And this is the purpose of virtually driving for dollars or doing it or door knocking. The goal is to keep your costs down to get some deals under your belt, right? And still to this day, we use this with virtual assistants. Yeah, I can't do this every single day. I can't, virtually drive for dollars every single day, but someone on my team can. And we get really, really big deals from doing this simply because, like Zach was saying, like, you don't buy this list. You actually have to earn this list. So with that, like, what you guys are going to find with wholesaling, the lists that are harder to obtain typically seem to be the best because they're not getting, bombarded all the time per se. So we actually got a deal. I'll just zoom out here. Here in Phoenix, our assignment fee on this one was $50,000. It was a good size deal. And that's why we're big believers in this. I mean, our only cost was obviously the software. And then we had a VA that was adding properties to a folder. It was over here in Central Phoenix. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see, First Street, Buckeye. Yeah. Okay. So it was over here off Pima Street. And again, like our VA's job, literally all day, every single day, their only job is to add properties to his folder, to his driving for dollar folder, right? Again, it's a list that's harder to obtain. You can't buy this list, but it's crazy the opportunities you can get just from it being a little bit harder to obtain. So is this Pima Street? It is. Okay. So all he was doing was going through the street views here, and he ran across, is this Pima Street? Okay, it was this house right here. So he ran across this. Obviously, you can see that it looks like it's somewhat of an eyesore. The paint's all bad. It's all off. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like you guys could probably tell why we would add something like this to our driving for dollar folder. Um, he added this property to our folder, right? Just by clicking this little button, add property, right? He added it in. We skip traced it, and we gave her a call, and it was actually a gentleman that answered. And it was just a bright circumstance. We're like, oh my gosh, we were actually thinking about selling this property. It was actually a conversation we just started having last week. Yada yada yada. We were able to get on the same page with them, negotiate a little bit, get a price that we were all happy with. They got the cash they're hoping to walk away with. Obviously, we buy the stuff as is. We made it easy on them. Closed in, I don't know, like three weeks, and they got their proceeds, and we had a $50,000 assignment. So we're big believers in it. The concept is very simple, and when it's this simple and this easy to do, it'll help you with like the resistance. So if you find yourself getting started and you're like, oh my gosh, I hate being on the dialer. I'm so worried, like who's going to tell me what on the phone? Like I get so much rejection, or I'm afraid to knock on the doors. Like by building a small niche list like this, and you're doing it every day, you'll build up the confidence, and you're taking enough action where you're like, okay, now I've built this list. And the real courage and the real magic is like, you got to call these people, you got to talk to them, right? And the reason why we add the ugliest of the ugliest is because we know if we get the right person on the phone, if they're on that list and we get the right person on the phone, there's a good likelihood we're going to get a really good deal out of it.
Yeah.
Would you agree, Zach?
Oh yeah, 100%.
So I'll stop the share for a moment and see if is there any questions I could help answer about batch driven? Was that clear?
Oh yeah, that was definitely clear. Guys, comment below your virtual drawing for dollars questions. Let me put this up here. While we do that, I'm gonna put the fire up to Matt, and we're gonna ask him some important questions here. So
let's do it, man.
All right. So here's a really important question I just personally have for you. I want to know is how many virtual driving for dollars leads does your VAs have for you to get a deal?
So our VA adds anywhere from 300 to 400 properties a week.
How many?
Right? 300 to 400 properties a week is what he adds. So it takes about
VA?
One VA.
Oh wow.
Will add about 300 to 400 a week, right? And it took him a month of doing that for us to get a deal out of it.
Okay.
So it was roughly anywhere from 12 to 1,500 properties on that list to get that $50,000 deal. But we know roughly, well, the numbers are evening out now. It's closer to 1,000 properties for a deal.
Jeez. I mean, that seems like a lot, but if it's virtually, I mean, come on.
Oh yeah. I mean, I can get on there and like sometimes I test him like, bro, why are you not adding more properties? Right. I'll get on there and be like, bam, here's the area. All right, let's do it. Now I had like 40 properties in 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, what's the deal here? You're working full time. Let's add some more. So,
right.
1,000 properties is conservative, right? Sometimes we beat the numbers. Sometimes we'll get a deal in 300, 350. But I just look at the system as a whole and see like, okay, how many properties have we added and how many have we contracted to get that number?
Does VA Hub train VAs to do this also?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So in the beginning, so this was like a new thing, right? Probably about 3-4 months ago, it was pretty new of like getting a virtual assistant to help, and Batch Driven was, figuring out their software, and we were trying to figure out the perfect system behind it. We're like, okay, so do we have a VA, drive for dollars, and then every time they see an ugly property, skip trace it, text it, call them right on the spot? Like, what does that look like? So I tried a few things, and I realized like whenever they were doing just the one-off properties, it was taking them forever to go through and actually add a decent amount of properties. Because when we look at like, okay, if it's going to take 800, 1,000 properties to get a deal, right? If that's what it's going to take, then if they're adding like 10 properties, 15 properties in a day, it's going to take forever, right? So instead of calling one off and texting one off or running text campaigns, we found a system in a way that we have that VA that's doing the virtual drive for dollars. We have trained them to first half of their shift, they're cold calling. They're cold calling the list that they built from the previous week, right? In the second half of their week, second half of the day, the other 4 hours, they're just adding properties to a folder. So that way they get an opportunity to get the deal, which I mean, we give commission on deals for the VAs, so they get an incentive there. And it also helps them, like, if they're going to be calling these people, they want to make sure that they add the best properties to the list, right? They just don't want to add everything to the list. So they cold call half, and then they drive for dollars the second half, and that seems to be working a lot better, rather than doing the one-off stuff and then trying, like, have them try to manage the text and make phone calls or like whatever. It was just distracting them from the main activity, which was, hey, what do we care about? We care about building this list of niche properties, and we care about getting them on the phone, right? 1, 2, and that's what they're trained to do, and that's what we do now at VA Hub when we train VAs to do this for our clients.
What's VA Hub for people who don't know what that is?
So VA Hub, for guys that aren't aware, and if you're starting your business and you're doing a lot of stuff, like most of us, we all start as like one-man shows. A VA is just a virtual assistant, right? A virtual assistant will help you do anything in your business. Like you name it, they can do it. But the main thing is not doing that in the beginning. The number one thing that you need to focus on if you guys are just getting started is getting leads, right? Leads is the lifeblood of your business. It was interesting, Zach, back when I got started in this business about 1.5 years ago with wholesaling, I got invited to a mastermind, right? And at this mastermind, it was like a lot of big players that, I won't name drop on here, but it's a lot of big people. I'm like, oh my God, I saw you on YouTube. Like, oh my God, I saw your podcast. Like, I know you're like, always see your post on Instagram. And I was like, dude, what am I doing in this room? I've only gotten one deal, right? and as I'm sitting in there, when they wrapped up the mastermind, he went around the room, and as the speaker went around the room, he was like, okay guys, now we're going to do what we always do. We're going to share like what's working in your business and what do you need help with, right? So it's like a collaboration thing. So as I'm sitting there beside Pace, we go around the room, and I'm seeing these people like, oh, this dude's killing it. They're like they have a really big business. I'm interested to see what they have to say. The one thing that the one thing that they said was like, oh, so this is working really well and our acquisition team's doing really good, but dude, we just need like some more leads, right? And then the next person went by, and it was like somebody else went, dude, I saw your podcast, I know you're doing really good. I'm like, what do you have to say? He's like, well, texting's working really good, and we seem to be getting some regular contracts, but we just need to we're having such a tough time getting regular leads. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like every single person, like I would probably say 8 out of 10 people within that room, 80% of people in there had lead problems. And I knew right away, it's like, if I'm going to make this business work, and this is going to be like, I want to build this business, make good money, I need to get leads. That's the only thing I focused on. That's why I was door knocking. And from the very beginning, I had a virtual assistant cold call the people that I was door knocking, right? So it helped me create more opportunities. So for the guys that are watching and you're wondering like, what is a virtual assistant or how can I make this actually work for me? Number one, you need leads. Leads is the oxygen to your business. If you don't have leads, you don't have a business. So virtual assistants allow you the opportunity to focus on, okay, am I going to be efficient knocking on doors every day? Probably not, right? My business is going to have a really tough time growing. And I'm going to, can I make cold calls? Sure, right? But should I be doing those things? No. What should you be doing as you get started? You should be focusing on getting contracts, because that's what's going to get you paid. So a virtual assistant is there to help you set appointments for you to talk to sellers that are already motivated and already vetted. So at VA Hub, that's what we do. We have trained VAs to help folks generate leads, do admin work, do all sorts of things. Like we have a VA, if you can think about it in your business, we have a VA for that. But for the folks that are watching and are like, I don't even know what a VA is. Number one, if it's not a virtual assistant, you need to get some help to help you generate leads. And we do that by virtual assistants at VA Hub.
Wow. Another question for
Mhm.
you is, so how many months ago did you start wholesaling?
So I was an appraiser for like 5 years, and then I had like my traditional license. I was doing like listings and stuff, and I
Mhm.
hated it because I hate paperwork, and I was the worst agent ever. And I was like, okay, I need to make a change. I had like a bunch of listings, and I was like a therapist for my for my clients, and I hated it. I hated every second of it, and I needed to make a change. And I saw my good friend Cody Barton. Um, I saw
Killer,
him doing pretty well. Do I know?
killer.
Yeah.
Oh
I
man,
saw him, and we were friends for like 3 years leading up to this. And I saw him like he bought a Maserati. I'm like, if you got a Maserati, bro, I'm gonna do this. Let's go try this. And this was last August, so August 2019. I went all into wholesaling, made that switch, and slowly grew this thing out over the last year and a half to where we do have virtual assistants and we do a good amount of business every month. And it's been a fun ride for sure.
okay, so
Hmm.
16 months ago you started in this business, and
Hmm.
how much money did you make last month in profits,
Uh,
selling wise?
yeah. So November was a little over 200 grand.
Guys,
Um,
comment below if you think this guy should be on my podcast. 16 months ago to 200 grand a month. That is literally insane. But I can talk for hours about that. But guys, you got to listen to Matt here. Matt's not this one-off guy, like doing a couple deals here and there. Like this dude knows what he's talking about. So take what he's saying seriously. This dude's legit. So let's comment below your questions. Let's get at him. But
Yeah, keep them coming, guys. And like, so it was a slow rolling thing. It wasn't like I went from one deal to doing 200 grand in a month like right away. It was tweaking these things, figuring out like how can I get those leads right, and then once you get the leads, you get good at conversions, getting the sales, getting the contracts. So I think in the beginning it's about like how can I spend my money that I have. I didn't have a whole bunch of money. Like, how can I spend that efficiently and effectively? So I
Mhm.
did these things to grow it from, okay, in August, I did one deal, right? In September, I did one deal. In October, I did two deals. And then in November, I did 17, right? But it wasn't like, it's like, did I do 22 deals in like, was I averaging 5 or 6 deals a month? No, it was a slow rolling, get that momentum, get the skills, get better, implement the systems to make it more regular. And it took some time for sure. But now, we run a business with virtual assistants, and the leads are, regular. We can count on those leads. We can count on those deals. So certainly can be done. And I think one of the coolest things what I think is really cool about what we do is our whole sales team is in the Philippines, right? So I don't do the acquisition appointments anymore. I don't do the marketing stuff. My VAs lock up every single contract, right? And they've been trained to do that. So it makes the business basically run. I can't say on autopilot, but it makes it run very regularly where I can work on the business rather than in it every single day.
Yeah, I mean VAs are the godsend, man. But
They're
let's
the
get into
key,
these
man.
questions, man. They are cheap. One last question before we get into the comments, guys. Comment below the questions. So let's say a thousand leads is what it takes basically to get the deal. It took a month for one VA, minus commissions, obviously. How much did that $50,000 deal actually cost you paying the VA? Now I know training, time stuff, but at the actual
Mhm.
cost.
Right. So this is the reason why we do have VAs that do the acquisition. We don't have physical acquisition people here in the United States. I tried. I tried to have some people work my leads, right? Give them 15, 20% of every single deal. It never worked out, right? Commission pay isn't for everyone. So I was like, okay, well, I can't continue to do every single appointment. I need to train these folks how to do it. So yeah, we get a deal that's like $50,000 like gross revenue for the company. My cost isn't that bad, right? My cost is simply what I pay my VA per hour, right? When we get a signed contract, they get 50 bucks, right? And then my actual VA sales team, there's three of them that do my acquisition, and they split it three ways. So they each one of them gets $250.
Wow.
So I'm not giving $7,500 to $10,000 away in commission to a salesperson. I have it all done with VAs.
Okay. So,
Mhm.
but to get the thousand leads it took you to get that deal, do you know how much it cost to VA, driving around, like your total cost?
My total cost you have, I'll add it up right now.
Just curious for someone looking to think they're trying to crunch the numbers if they want to add this
Right.
marketing
So
channel in.
here's the thing. Again, if you have more time than money, the subscription's $49,
Ooh,
right? That's all it
not
costs
bad.
for the software. If you're doing it, $49. But if you're having a VA do it, then you're looking at $9 an hour times 40 hours a week. That's $360 a week times four, like $1,400 plus the software. Um, would have someone build that list for you. And then you have to think about your other costs, right? So to be completely transparent with you guys, you got to think about skip tracing the data, right? You build a list of 1,000, you got to skip trace it. You got to get those phone numbers, right? And then the cost of the tool. So if you have a power dialer, we use Call Tools. That's $100 a month, right? And then any other thing that you have layered on top of that. That's why in the beginning, if you're doing this, keep it super low. Stay as lean as possible. If you haven't done a deal yet, or maybe you've done one or two, you could definitely do this. You probably have the time to just drive for dollars and focus on building that list, and then skip trace it, right? And then call those people and text those people, right? Until you get to the point where it's like, okay, we're getting one or two deals in regularly. Our revenue is at a point to where I feel like we can hire a virtual assistant to do some of these things. You're typically the person that wears all the hats. That's how it goes, you know? So, I mean, as far as your costs are concerned, if it's just you look at just the subscription cost plus, skip tracing. But if you are going to hire a VA, let's just say everything all in would be like $2,000.
Okay. And
Mhm.
yeah, let's get into questions really quick. Again, 50, I think I'm right here. Let me know if I'm wrong. You get about 50 free script traces. You sign up, right?
Yep. So if you guys go to batchdriven.com/Matt, that is my affiliate link. So of course I do get paid when you guys use my affiliate link. I'd be very grateful. But you get 7-day free trial plus 50 free skip traces. So we've had people use the affiliate link and get a deal within their first 50 free skip traces, right? That happens. It doesn't happen, like it's not like a normal thing, but it can definitely happen. But you do get your 50 free skip traces if you use that link.
Again, everyone's going to ask me, Zach, why
Mhm.
aren't you promoting your link or doing your own thing? I don't promote stuff that I don't physically use in my business. And right now, I don't do this in my business. So that's why I had to get the expert on here to get it. One last thing, we really got in these questions here, but for guys that are using like smszach.com or using Batch for their texting, do they get a discount, or is there like anything else, or is it they got to get this like additionally?
So it depends on what you're doing in your business, right? So for a lot of folks, this is something that they haven't really built a system around. Like if you're like you, Zach, and you have a business where you're like, okay, I'm getting leads regular, I'm doing this, this, and this in these markets, right? Adding on another system on top of that may just be something that you may not want to tackle right now, right? But for folks that come over, that is the offer that Batch offers. I don't own Batch. I'm not a like a member of their company, but as a user of the app, all of our door knockers use the app. There's a way to track your team. Like there's so many more features on Batch that we didn't go over just because we're focusing on virtual drive for dollars. But our door knockers use the app, right? You can update your notes. You can update the properties. You can market to them. You can even send mailers within the app. You can text within the app. Obviously, you can skip trace in there. So there's all kind of stuff you can do. And I just use the app for our team, and that's why I have an affiliate there with them.
Boom. Awesome. Jesse,
Hmm.
Evo, Annie, shout out to them. Great company. But
Yes.
all right, let's go check it out. So Micah says our best improvement method to date. Shout out to Micah. That dude's a killer out there in Michigan. But I'm telling you, driving for dollars,
Yes.
it's killer. Let's see. Yeah, I live in Anaheim, California. I'm trying to do this in a different market. So could you do this in a different market?
Absolutely, man. Like if you're in Anaheim, one of the challenges you're going to have is actually physically doing it because the traffic's so bad,
Oh my God.
right? So we actually have folks that tune into so every single Friday, I go live on the Batch Driven actual Facebook group. We share best practices, go over like some of the leads that we had come in from folks that were participating in the 990 challenge. We had a lady that lives in California. She does virtually drive for dollars there simply because traffic's so bad, but she also does a few other virtual markets. Now, again, you pick like a metro area, you know those photos are going to be more like up to date. But if you do what I told you to do, or like if you follow that direction at all, if you look at the sale data in comparison to the photos, you'll still be good. We do it in some of the markets, like even in Florida, where I've seen photos from 2011, 2012, and the sale date was like 2000 or 1997. Still going to have those properties, and we've been able to get good leads and deals from that. So I know that definitely works. Don't worry about, do you need to stay where you're at? Certainly you would if you want to, physically drive for dollars, or physically door knock. But if you're doing this virtually, you can do it anywhere.
All right, cool. And let me see here. To piggyback on that, Google Map in my area hasn't been updated since 2009.
Bro, you need to wholesale somewhere else. If your area is like 2009, you need to go find somewhere where there's a lot of people and go get some properties there.
Jeez, dude, tell me where you live. Comment below where you live. I'm just curious. 2009.
It's
Okay.
11 years, bro. They
Jeez.
still haven't made it back out.
All right. Marwin, thanks for commenting a lot, man. I appreciate it. How many is a good amount to add a day?
So if you're the one doing it, I think 40 properties is good. Virtual assistant, I push them because I'm not going to be doing it for 8 hours straight. But or 4 hours straight, if I have a virtual assistant doing it, I want them to add at least 100 properties a day.
And for 40, how long would that take you?
If you have the right area. So that's why I say use a list source or find a hot zip code.
Yeah.
If you have the right area, it'll take you like 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, depending on your internet connection.
Sweet. Also, how do you stop a VA from literally just driving in like a war zone and just literally adding like 5,000 leads in that area?
Yeah, I mean, I give them, I give them a map and I give them the zip codes, and because one of the challenges early on when I didn't do that is I had them driving in really expensive areas, and I'm like, well, why are you not adding any properties? He's like, dude, there's no ugly properties. I don't know what you want me to do. I'm like, okay, you're definitely in the wrong area. So if they're in a war zone, that's cool, man. If it's in that zip code, if it's in the area I told them to drive for dollars, and they go through and they're like one property, like side by side by side by side, great. Do the whole neighborhood. We're gonna call them all.
All right. And another one, can we do this in a competitive market? Maybe everyone else is adding the same properties. Should I spread out to neighborhoods outside the main market?
Marwin, definitely you can do this in a competitive market. There isn't hardly a more competitive market than Phoenix. Phoenix is super duper competitive. And the property that we added on Pima Street, I guarantee it was probably on 15, I don't know, maybe hundreds of people's list. This person was definitely there. So there's very seldom people that aren't getting called, aren't getting texts, aren't getting mailers, aren't getting marketed to. Everyone is, but it comes down to two things. It's consistency and timing, right? With this particular person, he's probably already been called plenty of times before. For whatever reason, it wasn't the right time. He's probably, plenty of people probably marketed this person, but you catch somebody at the right time. You're consistent with your marketing. That's the purpose of having a small niche list, is you can go through it over and over and over and over. You can be consistent with it. You're going to catch somebody at the right time, and you're going to get a great deal out of it. Don't worry about competitiveness, right? Don't worry about like, there's too many people in this market. The thing about Phoenix is there's a lot of people here, and there's a reason for that. It's because the market is super duper hot. When you get a deal here, you got the gold. You're going to have no issue selling it, as it is in most markets like that, right? Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, most of the big markets, Las Vegas, some places in Florida like Tampa, Orlando. Like, you're in these markets, you get a lead, you get a deal, you're going to have no problem selling it. So it's okay to work in competitive markets. Just understand that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with your likelihood of getting the deal.
All right. And Marwin asks, he said, this already sounds like a podcast. Dude, this is, I can't release this as a podcast because there's too much going on for like a podcast format. But I'm telling you right now, I'm getting this guy on the podcast. I'm going to learn everything about his market. I'm going to learn how he's actually training his VAs correctly. I mean, this would be a 5-hour podcast if I did that. But again, I'm telling you right now, we'll get to the bottom of it. Every podcast, I get to the bottom of everyone's market. So just to help you out. But
100%. Let's do it.
Pam wants to know, absolutely. See, Jacob wants to know, how old is Matt?
I'm 28.
Oh, sweet.
28.
I'm
Dude,
telling
100%. Anyone can do this, no matter how old you are. I have my little brother who's 17 running around talking to sellers right now, right? So it doesn't matter how old you are. You can be 17 to who knows, right? Again, all we're trying to do is have conversations with distressed sellers. One of my main motivations was, yes, I'm 28, but my wife told me she was pregnant, and I'm like, oh my God, we got to make this thing happen faster. So that's a great motivator, guys.
jeez, I can't imagine. When I started out, I was a bag boy, I was broke, and that was kind of my motivator. But geez,
Yes,
having a
dude.
kid, that would.
Money motivates for sure. It don't matter. Everybody's got a story for sure.
Oh yeah. So Jacob wants to know again: is virtually driving for dollars just as effective as actually going out driving for dollars in your car?
Well, if we look at data over drama, then I would say yes. Because our data has shown that we've gotten way more deals virtually driving for dollars than I was when I physically drove for dollars. But again, I haven't physically drove for dollars in 10, 11, 12 months. So we just don't physically go drive for dollars very much. Everything we do is virtual. So I just look at those numbers and see like, okay, we're getting consistent deals from this. It's definitely worthwhile. So that's all we can really base it off of.
All right. And Marwin asks, how often do you call the people on your list?
Every single day, over and over and over, 5 days a week. I do get like our team has the weekends off, okay? But here's the thing. I love talking about this when it comes to marketing. This is like one of my favorite things is a lot of folks, I made this mistake. When I started, I got my first check and I spent most of that check on a big data set. I got like, I don't know, it was a bunch of people on this list. And a lot of folks were like, hey, what's the perfect list? Like, who do I need to be calling? And a lot of people romanticize the perfect list. There is no perfect list.
Nope.
The list that you can do goes back to two things: consistency and timing. If you have a big data set, like you can't be consistent to it. It's gonna take it's you or your VAs, if you have one or two, whatever, it's gonna take them a month or a month and a half, 2 months to get through that data set. And you're hoping the first time through you're gonna get a deal, right? It doesn't happen. Like the deals that we're getting right now is from lists that we pulled in April, right? March, April, and we're just calling them over and over and over. And it's not the sexy thing to say, right? And a lot of people don't want to talk about this, but it's the truth. There is no perfect list. You got to call it over and over. So the people that are on this list, it's very small. Like we'll call them, we'll call it, right? Let's just say it's 1,000 people on this list. We'll call it through one time. We'll recycle it. We'll take out everybody who doesn't want to be called, wrong numbers, whatever. We'll take those people out and we'll call that list again. We'll do it again. We'll take the wrong numbers. The people don't want to be called. Take them out. Call that list again. We'll do that over and over and over and over and over to the point to where there's hardly people to call. Great. We'll pull it out, put the data set back in, and call it again. So you just got to be consistent, man. That's all it is.
All right. And do you text that list at all too?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So we do all the things, texting, calling. We do voice broadcasts and stuff. Some people are like, oh, that stuff doesn't work. We get deals from it, so we still do that.
Definitely. Marwin asks again. Shout out Marwin again. Thanks for the question.
Dude, Marwin is bringing it.
He's getting better today. Are you getting better today? If you are, comment below. If they initially say no, do you follow up with them every month? What about the people that don't answer the phone?
So those deals that you get from calling it over and over from the people who don't answer, right? So people who say no, we won't necessarily just take them off the list. Like, oh, I'm not interested. Got it. Cool. We're gonna recycle and call that person again and call them again. It may sound ridiculous, but guys, this stuff works. So we follow up with them probably multiple times a month, unless they explicitly say, hey, I'm not really interested in selling now. Call me back in 30 days. Perfect. We'll put them on a different list, right? But if they just say no, they're getting called and they're going to get texted. That's just how we do it.
I mean, I remember I used to call people like crazy, like probates. Mm-hmm. What's the worst that's going to happen? Wow, you know what? Zach's just being too nice and actually following up with me. Like, come on, just keep attacking it. They'll remember you. When there's 6 other people cold calling, if they remember Matt calling me and actually being nice, you'll get the deal.
Right. And I think we try to justify it in our own heads. And we're like, oh, well, you know what? I just talked to him last week and they said call back in a month. I don't know. Maybe I'll just give it some time. And next thing you know, you get upset when they sold it to someone else.
Yep.
You call them back in the month and like, well, something changed and some guy came by and we actually sold the house. You're like, what? Why? you just be relentless with the follow-up, guys. Do not let that stuff happen. It happens a couple times and you're like, okay, never again.
Yep. I remember it took me one time for that to happen, but
Yes.
oh man. William, what's up, William? Zach and Matt, have either of you used Sweet Spot Locator to check zip codes for all virtual markets?
I've never used Sweet Spot Locator. Maybe that's an easier way than using ListSource, but I just use ListSource to do what I know works. And if that stops working, then we will pivot and make a change, and maybe that's Sweet Spot Locator.
Yeah, boom. I mean, zip codes are kind of weird where I'm at. Again, it's very street specific. Some streets on my zip code work, some don't. It just takes years of data to figure out my physical markets and virtual. I just use that list source hack. It works really well. Jacob says, Matt looks very young.
Hey, thanks, man. I just shaved today, so that's probably why.
Yeah. Okay. Marwin, love the info, guys. Really appreciate it. Appreciate you, man. All right. So
killing it, Marwin. Killing it, bro.
All right. Hello from Naples, guys. What's up? What's up? Naples is I don't really know many investors in Naples. Do you know if it's a good market or not?
I talked to one guy 2 weeks ago. A part of like VA Hub is I like to check in on our clients that have been with us for a while and see how everything's going, maybe help them with some of their marketing stuff. And he was in Naples, and I think he just ran out of people to talk to. He's like, so I don't have anyone else to call, and I'm just doing it in my like physical market. I'm like, bro, you got to go somewhere else. You don't have to just stay in Naples. But he seemed to build a decent living out of Naples. So I don't know anything about it. I've never marketed there, but seems to be something.
Sweet. And what times are the best to cold call?
So, well, if I was physically doing it, there's like golden hours that I believe 8 to 10, right, is great. And then when people get off work, 4 to 7. But you know, I can't really narrow it down to a certain time of day. We call all day from 8 till 7 p.m., right? And we'll get people on the phone at 11, lunchtime, 12, 1. So it goes back to the consistency thing, right? If it was me, I would probably make the argument in my head. It's like, okay, Matt, well, let's just call between 8 to 10, and then we can go do these other things so we can go get some contracts, right? But that's the secret of having a VA, is so it's always happening.
Yep, boom. And then doing okay, totally agree. Sweet. And before we wrap everything up, guys, I mean, Matt's just killing the information here. I have a question for Matt. This is pretty important. If I locked you outside the country, I brought you into the Philippines, you're locked in a room, you can't get out till you get the deal. I give you $500. How are you getting your first driving for dollars? What is your step-by-step plan to get money? I gave you $500 to get a virtual driving for dollars deal.
So I wouldn't need $500. I need, number one, I need the amount for the subscription, right? I need $49. And then I need some sort of a burner phone, right, to call these people. So step by step, number one, I go do the list source hack, right? I would pick a market where I know there's a lot of activity, right? So something like Phoenix. Do the list source hack, find the zip codes that are the hottest, go to the number one zip code, hop into batch driven that I have a subscription for, right? I would then pull the satellite view, so it's the most recent photos, find an area from the satellite view, like a block, right? I would find a block that looks like a war zone, right? And I would start there. I would start in that war zone, and I would virtually drive for dollars from the street view, add properties to a folder, right? Looking for multiple issues, something that, you know, has a bad roof, landscaping, broken windows, broken down cars in the driveway, right? Really bad eyesore. Add those properties to a list, keep it small, like maybe no more than 100. So that way I can call it over and over and over and over and over, right? Make sure I cross-check the sale date with the photo, right? So I'm adding good properties. Call those people over and over and over with my burner phone, and I guarantee I would get a deal, 100%.
Wow. Guys, do it, man. Geez, that's awesome. Let's see. I guess another question. I guess Jacob got it in. Are you guys hitting any other niche lists or just driving for dollars on a massive scale?
Oh man, we do a lot of things. Driving for dollars is just like is a part of the business, right? So we're always thinking like, okay, well, who do we market to, right? Okay, so here's a question. When it comes to marketing, I think, who is my dream prospect, right? How do I find these crazy people? The crazy people, like, it's funny because this is what Pace says, and it rings true. Our job as real estate investors is to be better adults than our sellers,
Yep.
right? We got to solve their problems. So how do I find that person that's having issues, right? Where do I find them? And I ask people this question. They're like, oh, pre-foreclosures, right? Or like, whatever, evictions, tax delinquent, code violations. Like, people start naming all these lists, and it's like, what are those things? Those are niche data sets, right? So driving for dollars is just another form of that niche data set. So we do market to all those people, and it's not like we're just doing the driving for dollar stuff. They fit it, that list fits into that. Who am I trying to find, right? And we get in front of them by cold calling, texting, knocking on their doors, whatever that may be. So it's a part of our marketing for sure.
Awesome. Sweet, guys.
Mhm.
Again, I'm probably gonna get hit up like crazy on this. On the go to the live chat, list source hack videos right there. It's gonna be in the description. Just remind me. But I really appreciate you coming on today, Matt, kind of sharing how to do batch driven, VA hub, all that fun stuff. What are some things you think a lot of people missed when actually asking about virtual driving for dollars? And what are some really good parting thoughts you can give for everyone listening?
100%. Well, first off, thanks for letting me come on, man. This has been a ton of fun.
Oh yeah.
And talking to the folks that were here watching us today, and hopefully the folks that watch this on record. The one thing that I would say, guys, this business works out for folks that don't quit, right? If you don't quit and you're consistent, it's not if, it's when. It's going to happen. Just don't stop doing it and be consistent with it. So the folks that are successful, it doesn't matter if it's cold calling, virtually driving for dollars using batch driven, you got to take massive action. You got to take action on it. You got to do it every single day, right? It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of action in the beginning to get any sort of momentum, right? So it goes back to getting that one deal and then one deal, and you're busting your butt getting that deal, and you're busting your butt getting the second deal and the third deal. But eventually that ball starts rolling downhill, and it's like a snowball effect. And it goes 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh, we got 5 deals. We got 6 deals. You're creating a ton of momentum in the beginning, but you don't get any momentum if you don't take action. So hopefully, if you guys don't take anything else from this live today, use something. It doesn't matter if it's batch driven, but go out. If you have to physically drive for dollars and add properties to a notebook, take action on something and go start having conversations with homeowners that are in a distressed situation.
Wow. Thanks so much, Matt. I really
I love
appreciate
it.
it.
Love it.
Can't wait
Thanks
to
for
have.
having me, man.
Oh yeah, man. Can't wait to have you on the podcast again. Where can people find you? VA Hub, all that fun jazz. Where do people go to see you?
Yeah, so our VA business is virtual vahub.com. So you guys can go there to check out to see if a VA from our company would be the right fit for you guys. You can find me on Instagram, Matthew Beard. I pretty much try to post there every day, and obviously in the batch driven app stuff. So that's where you guys can to learn more about what we're doing. As far as like VA specific stuff, you can check out vahub.com.
Boom. Thank you guys so much. Again, like, subscribe, share. It means so much to me, guys. Appreciate you guys coming on, seeing me again every single day. Glad to get. I know people are getting sick of my face, so I had to bring someone on here. But appreciate it, guys.
Value.
Sweet, man. Thank you guys so much. Like and subscribe. Have a blessed one.